Clio Cup Series has packed its bucket and spade and headed to the Adriatic coast. Welcome to Misano for the first of two races for Clio Cup Series, point scoring for the overall series and for the Italian Championship as well. It is understandably a very Italian-dominated entry that we have, with many of the drivers that score Clio Cup Series overall points, such as the huge French contingent, not making the long trek here, and that means that overall there are going to be a number of shuffles potentially within the championship. But David Pouget is here. He is the man that leads the Clio Cup Series overall, and it's a kind of bonus in a sense for him to be here racing, because he's largely here with his team for the European GT4 series. But if they're going to bring a truck, they might as well put the Clio in the back of it, and so this gives him a chance to try and stretch that margin over the likes of Nicolas Milan or Anthony Gerardo, who aren't here this weekend. However, he's only third on the grid. Luca Franca, who is fifth in the Italian Championship and 10th in Clio Cup Series, he is the man on pole position, with the Italian Championship leader, Alessandro Brigatti, who's had one win starting way back, 14th on the grid. Cars slotting into place then. It's going to be 25 minutes plus a lap for this first of two races in very high temperatures. And the drivers in cars, as they're still being encouraged into place, Luca Franca up to pole position, the MC Motor Technica car. Drivers are going to have the desire to keep windows down to get air into the car, the reflective windscreen covering, just to try to get rid of some of the heat away from a very warm driver. And the sticky tape is to be put on the pit wall, so at the end of the green flag lap a driver can see exactly where he is meant to be, and hopefully not creep out of his grid marks and risk a false start penalty. Everybody in the same base car then, all run by different teams and all very competitive indeed. This championship, for many seasons, it has been one of the brand-leading one-make championships, the Renault one-make series, whether it's gone through the 5 turbos or the 21 turbos or the Alpine or the Spider or the Megane. But nowadays it is perhaps the ideal car, a small hot hatch, and these cars are very potent indeed. The 5th generation of the Renault Clio. They're on the grid number 84, which is the a very rapid Italian driver, Matteo Lanciolotti, for Faro Racing, second in the Italian Championship, second on the grid as well. So, with the wildlife in David Pouget's car, that's third on the grid. That's the man that is the Clio Cup Series Championship leader, and looking to try to build on that over the course of this race. 1400cc turbocharged engine cars always deliver very close racing, and drivers of different levels of experience. Alex Lanciolotti fourth on the grid, relative newcomer to the series, but David Pouget has been racing in one-make Renaults and Peugeots prior to that, getting on for close to 20 years now. Alex Lanciolotti, newcomer to Renault racing in contrast, in Clio Cup Italy as well as in the overall Clio Cup Series, and certainly a man to watch for a podium finish, I would have thought, in this race, as is the man that lines up 5th on the grid, Giacomo Trebbi, who is another Italian Series regular, and that's the car for 5th on the grid. Giacomo Trebbi for, again, MC Mototecnica, and 6th on the grid is the French driver, but race winner within the Italian Championship, Jerzy Spinkovic, in the Unique Racing car. He's also one of the champions on the grid, because there, Spinkovic, you can see him, has already won this year's Middle East Championship, Clio Cup Middle East, new, growing in numbers, and he was victorious in that at the start of the year. So, Jerzy Spinkovic, the Polish driver, regular in the European as well as in the Italian, and occasionally Clio Cup France, 6th on this one-by-one staggered grid, which stretches all the way back down to the last corner. 7th on the grid is another of the race winners in the Italian Championship. There have been 4 races and 4 different winners. Christian Ricciardini, double champion. He was Clio Cup champion back in 09 and also in 2016. He's raced in the Mini Challenge. He's raced in touring cars with a BMW in the Super Touring era. So very experienced, and 3rd last year, and he lines up 7th on the grid. And then 8th on the grid is Francesco Savoia, who's raced in the Adria Clio Cup. He's raced in TCR Italy for a good few years and has come back into Renault racing this year. And there you can see the Progetto E20 Motorsport entry that's eligible for the Challengers Cup. So you have drivers here registered for a maximum of 2 groups, so Europe and a region, either the French or the Italian. You can enter just one, so many are just scoring Italian points. But then there are categories as well, such as the Challengers Cup or the so-called races as well. Jacopo Jimenez in 82, next on the grid for Essa Corsa. Jimenez, who came from karting into Renault Clios. Jacopo Jimenez, and he is on the outside of the 5th row of the grid, and then on the inside to round out the top 10 on the grid. Sunglasses on, Leonardo Arduini, who used to race, of all things, in the Smart Electric Cup before coming to internal combustion engines and racing Clios. It's meant to be the other way around, isn't it, in the modern age? But Arduini, one to watch anyway, starting 10th on the grid. So the countdown continues. We are round about 10 minutes or so away from getting the race underway. 38 next on that grid is Alessio Alcidi, who raced in Clio Cup Italy last year. His dad's on the grid somewhere as well, Alessandro, who goes back quite a long time to 08 and Superstars, the Italian much modified touring car series, which is a kind of Italian version of the DTM. But as the countdown continues and engines will be fired up shortly, the grid's starting to clear. At the very back there is the shared car of Luciano Goya, and about to make his race debut, Rock Romeo. Next on the grid, however, back to the pointy end, is for 12th, number 95, the car of Adam Sasha. Another of the Italians for the rather British titled Seven Hills Motorsport team. But Adam Sasha, one to watch. And 12th on the grid, he will start on the outside of Alessio Alcidi. So with the engines to be fired up at the 1-minute board, Pierre de Lettre, the race director, has given the instruction for the grid to be cleared, and that is happening. Immaculate cars for now. One-mate racing does have this reputation of being a bit rumbustious, but largely, he says, putting a hex on it all, Clio Cup has tended to be very competitive, very close, but largely very, very clean as well. The drivers, certainly at the front end of Clio Cup racing, know what they're doing. The likes of a Pouget or a Nicolas Milan have been in it for so long, they know exactly what is required to win races and don't get involved in any silliness. So let's hope that that prevails here as well. In the Challengers in Italy, it is Mattia Lancialotti, who is the championship leader there, from Alessandro Brigatti and Giacomo Trebbi. In the racers standings, which used to be the gentlemen drivers, but now is racers, it is Luca Franca, the man on pole position, who leads that from Sandro Cutini and the pseudonymed Due, who is to be found a little bit further back on the grid. He's been a regular in one-mate Renault categories for quite a long time, on and off. And Due for the Oregon team, 18th on this grid. 1-minute board. So engines fire. Grid cleared. It's quite refreshing, isn't it, to see a grid with what you might call normal people, not necessarily in team clothing, no tyre trolleys or lots of equipment. It's just a spanner and a clipboard, and in some cases purely the reflective foil that's now being taken away. Drivers wished well, and with not much equipment to get off the grid is cleared very rapidly indeed in anticipation of this first race of the weekend. As far as outright wins in Clio Cup Series, the Europe part of it have been concerned. Nicolas Milan and Mathieu Lannon-Poudon won the 2 at Nogaro at the start of the year. Gabriele Torelli won both at Monza, and David Pouget won both at Magny-Cours. Gabriele Torelli and Anthony Gerardo split the wins at Spa, and then last time out it was Gerardo and Torelli again, but in the alternative order, Torelli winning the second race, that were the winners. So we might get some new names on the very top of the winners list this time. As the green flag is waved, so the car's released now onto the formation lap. 25 minutes, this race, and then the regulation lap at the end. So there's always that question mark from some drivers as to knowing whether they should push or not in a timed race. So the fact that everybody will know when the last lap is just makes it perhaps more level a playing field. So it is Luca Franca who will start on pole position, with Matteo Lanciolotti second on the grid. David Pouget, Clio Cup Series Championship leader, then starts third, and Alex Lanciolotti is fourth on the grid. Fifth is where you find Giacomo Trebi, and Jesse Spinkovics is sixth. Seventh will be Cristian Ricciarini, and Francesco Savoia will be eighth, ahead of Jacopo Jimenez and Leonardo Arduini. Alessio Alcidi is next from Adam Sasha. Gianberto Coldani 13th, and only 14th is the Italian Championship leader Alessandro Brigatti in number 105. He's one to watch, ahead of Ludovico Longoni and Alessandro Alcidi. Francesco Pagano is ahead of Due. Francesco Miotto and Sandro Cutini come next. The graphic reflecting what I've been talking about, we'll let that catch up a little bit. There you can see row 2. David Pouget, of course, being the man that's leading the championship and also heading the French at the moment as well. So that's the top 10 on the grid. The first of the Alcidis on the 6th row, which is to reflect Alessio's pace qualifying this morning. Dad Alessandro lining up on the 8th row ahead of Pagano and Due. The 10th row, Francesco Miotto and Sandro Cutini. They in turn are ahead of Daniele Pasquali and then Manuel Stefani. Andrea Cerigiti and Federico Danova are on the 12th row from Ercoli Cipolla and Rolando Borracini, with the back row being Mario Capella and having his Clio debut, Rock Romeo in the Essa Corsa entry to round out the grid. So that's how they qualified. Do not expect it to stay that way, because we know how competitive one-make racing can be. And so in very high temperatures still, the cars making their way round to the grid. Temperature is 30.6 outside. Track temperature 42.2 degrees. This is going to be a real test for the rubber Michelin tyres as the cars then now head towards the line. So to slot into place on that pole position is Luca Franca, who's a pretty handy esports competitor as well as Clio racer. So he will position the car at the front, wait for everybody else to form up around him, and then we will be in business then for the 11th race of Clio Cup Series. Drivers scoring European Championship and Italian Championship points. Number 17 there going to the grid is Daniele Pasquali in the Tudor Motorsport car. Pasquali, who's been racing Clios from 2008, both in Italy and France, 13th in the Italian Championship last year. Last few cars trickle their way into turn 16 at the very back there. Coming into position 165, you saw Rolando Borracini, then Mario Capella and Rocco Romeo will position themselves. Everybody now looks towards the lights then to get race 1 of Clio Cup Series underway. 5 red lights will be on when the lights go out. We're in business, bit of creeping from 1 or 2, but it's blast off and a good getaway by Franca. The pole position driver it is then that converts pole into the lead as they 3 wide make the run down towards turn 1 with a little bit of leaning going on as Matteo Lanciolotti eventually commits to the inside line and goes through. Luca Franca getting mugged off the line, and then a big slide by Lanciolotti. Half caught it, he's off the road. That's going to get looked at because of gaining an advantage by being off the circuit, and he leads the way. So it's not impeded him in any sense, has it, being off the racetrack like that, as David Pouget goes up into 2nd place and down to 3rd. A slow starting poleman, as it's turned out, Luca Franca. Up towards turn 6 they come for the first time. So far, so good. Race leader having a big slide, but no real drama behind him. Onto that back straight they go then now, accelerating up towards the long left turn 8 to Quechia. As to the inside line, Franca has a go at Pouget for 2nd place, trying to retaliate, make amends for losing that pole position. Side by side they ran out of the corner, but to the inside line is David Pouget with the sort of yellow grills to the car. On his outside is Luca Franca, and there is certainly a fair amount of national pride at stake in this. The Italians want to beat Pouget on their home soil and prove that it's not just the French that can star in Clio racing. Gabriele Torelli, absent this weekend, but he's been another of the stars in Clio Cup Series this year. But right now, it is from the front row, Matteo Lanciolotti upholding honour and getting away, which you don't do very often in Clio Cup racing, ahead of Pouget, ahead in 3rd place of Franca, and then in 4th place at the moment, it is Giacomo Trebi, So he's got himself up past Alex Lancialotti as the cars come then down towards the end of the opening lap. Way out wide in the background, 1 or 2 exploring all of the track limits. That I think was Adam Sasha, finding his own route through the corners. And so Pouget on the attack as they come up towards the end of the opening lap. Then Lancialotti's first and fifth at the moment. The two brothers as they come into the last corner, accelerating up towards the timing lines, but 1 lap in the book, a bit busy trying to fight back after a poor start, 82 of Jacopo Jimenez. But over the timing line at the end of lap 1, it is in the lead. Matteo Lancialotti from Davide Pouget, from Luca Franca third, Giacomo Trebi fourth, Alex Lancialotti is fifth, and then in sixth spot, number 109 of Francesco Savoia. More tyre squeal, more Michelin abuse as they come out of turn 2 and 3. And now, from pulling away midway round the opening lap, they've all caught back up again to the leader. So Matteo Lancialotti is under attack as Davide Pouget tries to get around the outside of him. That leaves the door open for Luca Franca in third place with the orange stripes on the car. He's all over the back of the Frenchman Davide Pouget, who has been the Spanish champion. He's come within a whisker of winning the French, but never quite done it. He's come within a whisker of winning the European, but never quite done it. But he's been a very successful triple champion in Peugeot one-mate racing a few years back, and he's right on the tail of Matteo Lancialotti for the race lead now. So the cars head up towards turn 9, and the leading, 5 or so, which is Matteo Lancialotti, Davide Pouget, Luca Franca, Giacomo Trebi and Alex Lancialotti, getting away just a touch from the next pack, headed by number 109, which is the car of Francesco Savoia. Behind him is Jezzy Spinkovic, and then 107 of Cristian Ricciarini, the championship leader from the Italian series, Alessandro Brigatti, with work to do. Side by side for the lead. Pouget makes his move on the inside and goes through. So Matteo Lancialotti slots back in behind him, and Pouget almost overdoes it, drifts out wide, gets it wrong, slides out on the outside line. Back on the inside comes Lancialotti. 1 back, 1 up, retakes the race lead. You don't often see Pouget making mistakes like that, but he threw caution to the wind. He's back on the inside at turn 15. Lancialotti gets run out wide. Surprised those mirrors have survived all of this. They're not done yet, though. They're still side by side coming into the last corner. Both go wide. Lancialotti very nearly on row 3 of the grandstand. So wide was he, but he's back onto the tarmac. And as they come over the timing line, Davide Pouget, with his elbows out, leads the way. Luca Franca round the outside, goes up into second place, and now goes for the race lead as well. Drops back at turn 1, all over the curb at 2, and hangs on to the place at 3, with Matteo Lancialotti behind him in third place. And now in the mix as well have come Trebi and Savoia and Alex Lancialotti. So what was a 4-way battle for the race lead is now a great big clump. It takes you all the way back, I reckon, to 7th place, and Jezzy Spinkovic. Now, how is the championship leader getting on? The race leaders come onto the back straight, and 105, which is the car of Alessandro Brigatti, nowhere to be seen. Now, did it even take the start of the race? Yes, it did. 9th it is. So 9th Brigatti is. He's done a little bit of the hard yards, but he's got more work to do. So Brigatti, 3rd in his class, but wants to be up with the race leaders as they turn now up towards turn 9. This lap 3, clock ticking on down, time plus a lap. In the pack there, through on the inside, number 60 to gain ground, Leonardo Arduini. Moves through on the inside and therefore goes ahead of Brigatti. So Brigatti drops to 10th rather than continuing to make progress. Davide Pouget then, with something flapping under the car, accelerates down once more through the turn 11 kink, the turn 12 kink, the turn 13 corner. It tightens and tightens and tightens this section all the way around. That's the Italian championship leader, Alessandro Brigatti, with a little lock-up as he scrabbles his way out of turn 13. Elbows out of the pack, but largely no contact. Pouget still leading, but only just. It is now Luca Franca right on his tail as they come up towards the end of the lap. Yes, Spinkovic there, the Polish driver in 125, the unique racing car, making a bit of progress, dancing out wide is Alex Lancialotti, number 30, as the car bounces over the curbs. So Pouget goes through then, with Luca Franca up into second place. There are incidents set to be investigated post-race, so the result on the road may not necessarily reflect the final order. We'll update you on that tomorrow. As through they come, Pouget just ahead. Luca Franca behind him, about to go up the inside, possibly heading up towards turn 4. Behind them in third place is Matteo Lancialotti, who led that opening lap but has dropped back a little bit now. And the top 2 trying to work together to break away, and for the moment it has happened, but of course on the back straight they can all slipstream themselves and get back as one clump once more. Cristian Ricciarini, you saw going through in 7th. This in super slow-mo is how close it was between Pouget and Mattia Lancialotti a couple of laps back. It looked dramatic at the time, but when you see how close they get in the super slow-mo replay, it's almost like your teeth, doesn't it? It's so close between the two of them. That was into the corner. Now Pouget carried a lot of speed, so the only way he was going to make the corner was by using the curb, and so Mattia Lancialotti on the outside really had nowhere to go. Over the curb, over the blue paint, over the track limit, almost as far as the gravel. It bucks, it bounces, he kept it off the gravel, got on the dirt, got on the grass, admittedly. Luca Franca scatters to the inside coming out of the corner, and they all survived. Now there, 116 has just dropped back in the pack as the field accelerates once more up towards turn 14. Pouget with Franca right on his tail. Mattia Lancialotti still there in 3rd place. Very wide goes Franca, kicks up the dust on the outside line. So that 7 that we had a lap ago has broken up a little bit. They may well get themselves back together before the very end. One car that's just come down the pit lane, and that is the Gian Alberto Cordani motor technical car. So it's almost a lap down, but it's just rejoined. Pouget has done the fastest lap of the race now, a 1:55.091. He leads Franca by 0.6. Mattia Lancialotti 3rd, up to 4th now, Giacomo Trebbi. Jesse Spinkovic 5th. Cristian Ricciarini is 6th, down to 7th. Alex Lancialotti up to 8th is number 60, that being Leonardo Arduini. Down to 9th, drops 1:09. Francesco Savoia and Alessandro Brigatti still 10th, not making progress here. The Italian Championship leader, a race winner this year, not getting himself up the order. So David Pouget, twice a winner in the Euro Championship this year. He leads the way and accelerates on that run down towards Queccia, turn 8, with Luca Franca behind him. And on this lap, Pouget did an absolute best in the first sector. Now, possibly starting to edge away from Luca Franca after a fairly rumbustious first few laps of the race. There is Franca in 2nd place. He knows, though, that he needs a good exit from this corner to get in the toe on this long, fast back section. They come out of the double apex Tramonto corner, down towards Curvoni, which is the kink that takes you to turn 12, which is a bit tighter, into 13, which is very tight, and then to Caro, turn 14, which effectively is the hairpin. That's Mattia Lancialotti down in 3rd place, but leading his class, the challengers for the under-25s within the Italian Championship, and behind him is 116 Giacomo Trebbi. Lock up from Lancialotti, coming up now towards turn 14. Finally, he can go left at 15 and left again to bring you onto the pit straight out of Misano, the turn 16 corner name. Now, David Pouget was the leader by 0.6 of a second at the start of this lap. Let's see what the advantage is this time, as all 4 wheels off the road on the outside there, ready to fling the car across the road, is Jesse Spinkovic as he goes through. So the leaders go by, and the gap is up to over a second now. That's quite significant in Clio racing. David Pouget starting to edge away from Luca Franca, the pole position driver. Pouget only 3rd on the grid, but he knows how to win Renault races. He's won enough of them. Lots of curb cutting there. Cristian Ricciarini was going up through turn 2 on the inside, way over the curb. So whether the stewards lose their rag with the curb hopping, we'll wait and see. For the moment, the only messages are about incidents that will be reviewed post-race. So Pouget it is up front, leading the pack from Franca. Then another second back is Mattia Lancialotti. 72 there is Manuel Stefani, another of the Seven Hills Motorsport entries, and another Clio Cup regular. Out of the left-hander of Queccia comes Cristian Ricciarini. Now he's up into 6th place, another one exploring track limits in the background. And a dive to the inside, which works there for Alex Lancialotti up the inside to gain a place. That moves him up past Jesse Spinkovic, so I think he's losing out on this lap, but Spinkovic fights back on the inside line. There's lots of width of Misano for Renault Clio, so Spinkovic's in the white and orange car on the inside line. On the outside line, Alex Lancialotti. Spinkovic gains the place back, and also trying to go with them then is Arduini, number 60, on the inside line in the grey and yellow car. He's got one. very nearly gets two. He's all scrabbling through on the inside line. That forces Spinkovic out wide over the curb, and he's done it. Arduini with a proper send up the inside gains 2 places, and Spinkovic falls to the back of that little battle pack as he hops back onto the road with Alex Lanciolotti having gone past him as well. I think the only winner out of all of that on that lap was Cristian Ricciarini, who was trying to gain places, and I think did so just before it all got messy behind it. 1:18 goes through Francesco Pagano, the Costa Rovest car. So, race leading gap, 1.2 seconds. That last lap, again, quicker from Pouget than it was from Franca. Spinkovic back on the inside line there to try to retaliate against Savoia, but Savoia is ahead of him as well now, so Spinkovic's race is rather unravelling. He's now got Jacopo Jimenez right on his tail in the red car, and Jimenez makes a move. Here he comes on the inside, good exit from turn 3, and heading up towards the so-called second Rio, 4 and 5. He's going to have the line as ahead of him. They're going through number 60, which is Leonardo Arduini, keeping himself ahead of Alex Lanciolotti for now at least. So 12.5 minutes still to run, so we're at about the halfway point, plus the lap at the end. 3 wide down the back straight, heading towards Queccia. Spinkovic to the outside line. In the middle of all of that is Pagano, and Spinkovic has got a problem because he is tumbling down the order, and I think eventually he's given up the unequal struggle. He runs off the road, and there's no fight in that car anymore, is there? It's back slowly to the circuit, but has he got a puncture? That car looking a bit low, the smoke. I wonder whether Spinkovic has gone over a curve and cut a tyre. It looks as though it might be on the left, the right-hand side rather. Yes, he has, front right's gone down. So, yes, Spinkovic limps to the pit lane. That's why he's been losing places. The tyre's been deflating, and now it's finally gone bang. So Spinkovic for the pits. And big shame that, because he was looking fairly racy earlier on, and he's another driver who's had a race win this year within the Italian Championship. 4 different winners from the Italian point-scoring races. Leonardo Arduini versus Alex Lanciolotti as they come up out of turn 14. Jimenez getting himself into the mix on the back of the white and blue car of Savoia. They've paired off a little bit here, and Leonardo Arduini heads towards the timing line. Alex Lanciolotti behind him as they bounce over the curb. Very bouncy, very wide is Francesco Savoia in number 109. Teams urging them on as they come over the line. Good old-fashioned pit bulls being hung out, which in the day of pit-to-car radios you don't see that many of. Warms the heart. Pouget to Franca, gaps up again, 1.7 seconds, helped by David Pouget doing the fastest lap of the race. But these two, hard at it for 6th place. Leonardo Arduini, number 60, covers off another move from Alex Lanciolotti, who has to go to the outside, partly to avoid making contact there. Scrabbles through the corner. .109, which is Francesco Savoia, accelerates now down that back straight. And is he under pressure? He is. Jacopo Jimenez right on his tail. They break for 8. They turn through Queccia. Don't run out too wide because you lose all the momentum then here through the run over the slight climb up towards turns 9 and 10 into Tramonto. So David Pouget looks as though win number 3 is heading his way in the European Championship then, because he's very nearly 2 seconds to the good. Luca Franca, having outpaced him in qualifying, really struggling to stay in the mix come the race. And once more, Alex Lanciolotti here is fighting for 6th place, but Leonardo Arduini is able to keep him at bay as they run once more down towards turn 13. So Arduini keeps the place for the moment. If they work together, they might be able to get onto the back of Cristian Ricciarini. The Italian Championship leader, by the way, Alessandro Brigatti, has recovered for 12th, but he's still fallen away from where he was earlier on, and from 14th on the grid. It's not been a stellar amount of progress, that's for sure. Luca Franca's team urging him on as he comes across the line. The GPA squad that operates David Pouget, player manager, because it's his team. He's here running a GT4 car for the European Series, but winning a race if he can while he's at it. He leads by now 2.4 seconds from Franca. Lanciolotti 3rd, Trebi 4th. Absolutely on the limit there is Savoia, with Jacopo Jimenez climbing the curb again, looking for a quicker, tighter exit from turn 3 to maybe get up the inside, going up towards the second Rio, turns 4 and 5, and he was just moving for that inside line there. So Jerzy Spinkovic into the pits with that deflated tyre, and David Pouget clear up front. Jimenez has done it, comes out of turn 5, makes the move stick at 6, job done. So that is Jacopo Jimenez then through as further back in the pack. 1:05 Alessandro Brigatti tries to push forward. So the Clio Cup Italy championship leader on the attack. Number 60 there of Leonardo Arduini. Still under attack, still with Alex Lancialotti right on his tail. And now as they come up towards turn 9, Lancialotti looks for that Clio-sized gap on the inside, but he can't do it. Everywhere he tries, Arduini able to cover that off. You can defend in things as small as a smart car, which is what Arduini used to race. You can probably defend in anything, can't you? Down that back straight then, coming towards Corvone, they come. And again, a bit of weaving to try to break the toe, a bit of weaving to try to defend, but it remains Arduini out wide over the curb, who hangs onto that place. Another one going way, way, way wide. Number 95 of Adam Sasha. His big battle with Alcidi ahead of him, now alongside him. And as they turn through the corner, almost making contact, those two. In fact, Sasha has dropped back again on this lap because now that is Douay who is up past him, and Douay was 2 places behind at the start of the lap. So the Oregon car, the Oregon stripes there, normally you find the yellow and purple and green more enveloping livery on an Oregon team car, but Douay being a bit more understated this time. Comes through, and another one being urged on by his team is now in 14th place, back on the inside of Adam Sasha, but he runs deep into the corner. Sasha up on the inside, goes through. That leaves him exposed on the outside at turn 2, and now the inside at turn 3. Side by side they run, but it's clean as well as being close, all of this. Still absolutely side by side, brake hard for 4, and Adam Sasha should do it. Yes, he does, and Douay locks up and scrabbles deep into that right-hander and loses another length or so as the cars make it out of the corner now. Further back in the queue there, 103, that is Francesco Miotto, the Progetto E20 Motorsport team. And 116 is Giacomo Trebi. He's on the back of the 3rd place car of Mattia Lancialotti, the man that led the opening lap. That within the leading 5 is the closest fight because Franca has distanced himself from those 2, and Pouget is very nearly in race 2. So far up the road is he, atypically for a Clio race, because normally they stay together in a great clump. To the inside line now goes Giacomo Trebi. That's for 3rd, and he's made it work, I think, on the inside going out of turn 12 to 13. And a big, big slide from Lancialotti. Just about saves it somehow and doesn't lose that much time in the process. Great save, cost him a place. That's going to be worth a replay, isn't it? So coming up towards turn 15, moment of the race, save of the day for Mattia Lancialotti. Trouble is, those flat-spotted tyres now are going to be rattling his teeth like nothing on earth. Comes out of turn 16, up towards the line. So all that gives Giacomo Trebi the place. Now, can he get on in pursuit of Luca Franca, who has dropped away by 2.8 seconds? This was the move. Trebi on the inside line. Round the outside went Lancialotti. I don't think they touched. He just carried way too much speed into the corner. And captain car control, Mattia Lancialotti, saved it. Comes out the other side. Mega moment. That could have been a whole lot worse. To only lose a place and about a length as well. Fair play to Mattia Lancialotti. So, in the car, there was a smell of burning rubber on top of whatever other smells there was after a moment like that. But he survives it, and he's 4th and can fight back from there, tyres permitting. Comes down to the end of the back straight. We've now got just under 5 minutes, plus the regulation lap at the end to be bolted on. And there's more tyre squeal as the leaders turn their way up through turns 9 and 10. So Pouget, the race leader. Franca in 2nd. Trebi in 3rd. Lancialotti M 4th. Ricciardini 5th. And Arduini 6th at the moment. Clock ticks on down as the field comes once more through Corvone, then down through the approach to Caro. Turn up towards the completion of another lap. But David Pouget has made short work of the opposition in all of this. And Luca Franca will be, to say the least, somewhat frustrated because he just can't get back onto terms. Try as he might, you can see how hard he's trying because he goes way wide coming out of turn 16. Trevi runs third ahead of Lancialotti, and then it's Ricciardini fifth and Arduini in sixth place. Another little fight going on much lower down the order between Denova, Romeo and Capella here. This is for 24th. These are the last three cars in the line, but they're having as fierce a fight as you'll find anywhere, which is great to see. Federico Denova, former Carter turned Renault racer. Rocco Romeo runs out wide, and further up the order, the fight between Leonardo Arduini and Alex Lancialotti is still alive. Those two nose to tail as they wriggle their way out of turn 6. A lap at the moment is just under 2 minutes. The best of the race, a 54.6 from Pouget. The leaders last time doing 1 minute 55s. And we've got 2 minutes 55 on the clock. Down to the end of the back straight goes Arduini, goes Alex Lancialotti. This is the battle for 6th place. Lane turn, make the run now to turns 9 and 10, through which they will turn here. Nose to tail pretty much down that back straight, with behind them Jacopo Ximenez chipping away. His last lap was quicker than these two, partly because they're holding each other up, but it won't be long, I would have thought, before he gets in a tow, and then that'll drag him along. Big lock up this time from Arduini. Alex Lancialotti with a trace of tar smoke as well, brakes late as he comes up towards turn 14 now. Runs in a little bit wide up the curb, and then now towards the line once more as they come out of 16. There's lots of task wheel behind as they battle through. Who is that? Getting it all crossed up. Savoia ahead of Pagano, ahead of Brigatti. So for 10th, 11th and 12th, this could all kick off. Brigatti 105 in the orange and white car, the championship leader to the inside line, and he's gained 1 place. So he's trying to rebuild his race. He goes wide though, coming over the curb at the end of the lap. And that is going to leave him in jeopardy against Pagano as they come over the timing line now. So Francesco Pagano in the Costa Rovest car, back through at the end of the pit straight. And right on their tail as well, number 38 there is Alessio Alcidi in the Tudor Motorsport car. Alcidi comes out of turn 3 on the outside line in that white and yellow and red car. Makes a move on the inside of Brigatti, and he's going to go through. Brigatti's car just does not have the speed, does it? Slow in qualifying, and although he stays on the inside line at 6 and for the moment will hang on to the place, this looks in jeopardy as well. Alcidi gets run out way wide over the curb, but he's got the momentum coming off that and may well make a move at the end of the back straight. There's that little kink at turn 7. And now side by side, mirrors disappear, they clash, and into turn 8, and Brigatti hangs onto the place. You know you've been in a proper Clio race when your mirror's hanging off, and that's the case now for Alessio Alcidi. So it hangs on by a thread. He's on the outside line. It's like a droopy dog's ear coming out of turn 10 now, that mirror. Well, there's nobody close enough behind. Worry not. Down the back straight they go then, heading to Curvoni. Right, 20 seconds of the time part of the race remain. So David Pouget, I would predict, will get the last lap board this time. So Pouget heads through the 3rd sector. Clock ticks on down as there the mirror flapping Alessio Alcidi comes through turn 13. Right, 1 lap to go board. There's also a driving standards flag being shown for quite a few people all of a sudden for track limits, but there is now a penalty being given for Adam Sasha, and that's a 5-second time penalty for track limit abuses. So he's not had he's had 1 driving standards flag, but now he's got the time penalty for offending again. So last lap, David Pouget leads by 4.5 seconds. Yes, 4.5 seconds in a Clio race. That's possibly the Clio Cup Series biggest ever winning margin. You don't normally win by that. 4.5 tenths, yeah, not 4.5 full seconds. But David Pouget has absolutely trounced the Italians on home soil. There'll be a very sweet win in this as he then heads to the pit wall to oversee the GT4 team. Down the back straight, next little fight rages on between Matteo Lancialotti and Cristiano Ricciardini. Those two getting themselves together as they head down towards turn 8 now. Through that left they come. And now blast their way towards turns 9 and 10. Matteo Lancialotti has fended him off race long. Can he do it for a bit longer? Yes, he can, because an error made by Ricciarini there. Slight lock-up, drifts wide into the corner, fights back by cutting the corner pretty much. Very tight line out of turn 10. And now he's in the wheel tracks. The toe might just work for him here. These cars the right shape to generate a toe, especially on a long, fast back section like this. Long straight to the outside line goes Ricciarini, covering off the inside line at Covoni goes Lancialotti. To the outside line, Ricciarini then in the largely red car, but he can't find a way all the way around the outside. What about the inside at 13? Thinks about it, can't do it. Door closed at 14, almost into the back of Matteo Lancialotti. They're not done yet, but nor is David Pouget, who's got a couple of corners to go as well, and he's heading up towards the checkered flag, ready to score. There he is, a race win for the third time this year in the Clio Cup Europe part of Clio Cup Series. Through he goes to win race 1 at Misano. Second is going to be Luca Franca, who comes through now ahead of Giacomo Trebbi. The gap 4.6 seconds. Giacomo Trebbi third from Matteo Lancialotti and Cristian Ricciarini. Leonardo Arduini sixth ahead of Alex Lancialotti, and then Jacopo Jimenez in 8th place. 9th should be Alessandro Alcidi ahead of Francesco Savoia, and then behind Savoia was Francesco Pagano. Alessandro Brigatti only 12th at the end after a pretty disappointing race in which no major progress was made. A couple of places gained from the grid, but that was all. So David Pouget, winner outright, and winner of both Italy and Europe. So it's a 5th different winner of the Italian Championship, therefore, this year. Luca Franca second. Luca Franca scores European and Italian points. Giacomo Trebbi third. He scores only Italian points. 4th, Matteo Lancialotti, and he is scoring in both Europe and Italy. 5th, Cristian Ricciarini. He's both Europe and Italy. And 6th, Leonardo Arduini, and he is, again, both Europe and Italy. So some good battles, although a 4.6 second winning margin is a major surprise. People don't normally win by that much in Renault Clio racing. So big margin for David Pouget. Luca Franca takes honours in the racers part of Clio Cup Italy, and Giacomo Trebbi wins the Challengers Cup in Clio Cup Italy. So David Pouget the winner from Luca Franca, Giacomo Trebbi in 3rd place, Matteo Lancialotti 4th from Cristian Ricciarini and Leonardo Arduini to round out the top 6. Alex Lancialotti 7th from Jacopo Jimenez and then Alessio Alcidi, and in 10th spot, Francesco Savoia. 11th was the car of Francesco Pagano. Behind him, Alessandro Brigatti. Due was 13th from Andrea Ciricetti. Next up, we had the car of Francesco Guttini from Alessandro Alcidi. Manuel Stefani was 17th. Adam Sasha 18th with his time penalty from Daniele Pasquale. And in 20th was Francesco Miotto. 21st, Ludovico Longoni, and then Ercoli Cipolla in 22nd place. So a very happy team for Luca Franca, but the Italians beaten on home soil by the French. David Pouget takes the overall win. And David Pouget will be very happy with that. It's about time he had a bit of luck in Renault racing. He's had plenty of race wins, but titles elude him. But Patron, the team boss, poses for the photographs as the man in P1, the race-winning driver. So the winning drivers overall congratulate one another. Nice to see Luca Franca saying well done to David Pouget, appreciating that it was a good drive by David, and more than anything he wants to get his overalls off, never mind the helmet and the hands device, just cool down. Even for people from this country that should be used to the temperature, it is still incredibly hot. The temperature still 30 degrees. And needing help to peel off some of the layers there is Luca Franca. Giacomo Trebbi very happy with his 3rd place. Cap on in the background, David Pouget. And he will, in due course, make his way up to the podium. There's an overall podium, traditionally, with the category and class podiums done in Renault's area in the paddock a little bit later on in the day. So then the winning drivers, having been congratulated by the teams, will go to the podium. Luca Franca, Giacomo Trebbi, second and third, the Italian Championship regulars. And look, unmarked cars pretty much. David Pouget did have that rear underbody work, flapping a little bit during the race. It does look as though it might be somewhat loose on the right-hand side. Now let's see whether we can hear from David Pouget, because it was a great drive, it was a good win, it was a convincing win. And number 15, David Pouget, the race winner, is with Gemma Scott in winner's circle.
David, vous avez le chauffage dans la voiture, pas les clim. You've got the heating and not the globe. Oh my goodness. Incredible. Mais félicitations. Vous avez pris les premières places et bien contrôlé toute la course.
La clé, c'était le départ. J'ai pris un bon start et après, j'ai essayé de rester devant pour pas chauffer. J'ai pu faire le trou, ça s'est bien passé, mais les Italiens sont très forts chez eux.
Well, the key there, well done, David, fantastic result. The key, of course, was the start, to get ahead and to keep the control and make sure that he can have that gap. No worries, don't apologise. Go and cool off.
Thank you.
Yes, even for a short 25-minute race, it is still incredibly hot. In fact, to be truthful, just walking around the paddock here this weekend is incredibly hot. There is no respite. It is both hot and pretty humid as well, so it constantly feels clammy. 69% humidity in the air. I don't think there's any threat of a big thunderstorm, but it will be quite welcomed. In super slow-mo, David Pouget, race winner, and a great drive to win race 11 of the year. So the drivers are heading to the podium. They have another race tomorrow, Clio Cup Series, of course, like many championships, maximising the track time by running double headers. And as the drivers head to the podium, let's look at the highlights of race 1. So good getaway by the poleman Luca Franca. 1 or 2 a bit tardy off the line further back. Tardiest of all, potentially, Federico Danova. A little bit of rubbing down to the first corner, but it was a brave Mattia Lanciolotti who went through on the inside from David Pouget. Dropping to third was Luca Franca. But that was turn 1. At turn 2, Lanciolotti on his cold tyres and a bit too much welly, oh so nearly lost it. Skipped most of turn 3, skipped back onto the road and found himself in the lead of the race. Pouget went through though, coming up towards turn 13 and having hit the front, started to eventually edge away, but he didn't hit the front instantly because he had that big moment first of all, and that gave the lead back to Lanciolotti. Pouget to the inside line coming into turn 16. And this was a little bit more successful. This time it was Lanciolotti who was off the circuit and he bounced his way back on track behind Franca. Jerzy Spinkovic had been involved in fights, but a deflating tyre eventually put the pole out of the race. He fell back as he headed for the pit lane with that car getting slower and slower. Up front, it was a rather surprising win for David Pouget in terms of the margin, but there were plenty of good battles that still raged on. Giacomo Trebbi, for example, fighting with the oh-so-flamboyant Mattia Lanciolotti in perhaps Renault Clio Racing's best save, way off the road and back on again, and he only lost 1 place. David Pouget then takes a race win, a 3rd in the European and a 1st in the Italian Championship of 2023. And there for 3rd place, Giacomo Trebbi is already on the podium. Up for 2nd place, Luca Franca. And the race winner for the top step of the Clio Cup Series podium is David Pouget. His GPA Racing squad represented there as well. And now the French national anthem. So trophies come next. And for third place, Giacomo Trebbi, first of all, who gets a great cheer from the team in the pit lane. Then Luca Franca, another of the Italian drivers. But the two are vanquished on home turf by David Pouget. And he was on the top step of the podium. A very happy driver indeed. More points. He oh so desperately wants to win both the French and the European Championship, having come close but being thwarted too often for his own liking by Nicolas Milan or Anthony Girardot. He wants that to change this year. The GPA racing team, they're receiving the team's award as well. And now they huddle together for the photographs. And another race tomorrow. Now that the teams have learnt a little bit about David Pouget, we'll see whether or not they have an answer to him for race 2. In the background, GT cars head to the track. Well done to the top 3 in race 1 for Clio Cup Series here at Misano this weekend. The second race for the Renaults will be tomorrow afternoon at 3:30, and slightly earlier then, but it's still going to be jolly hot for them. So well done to David Pouget as race winner. Can he do the double? It's tough to do, but on that showing, he certainly got the pace. So the drivers head back to their teams. First of all, take on some liquid and cool down, and they can do it all over again tomorrow. Race 2, 3:30 local time tomorrow here at Misano. Join us for that. We'll see whether Italy can beat France in the second Clio Cup Series race of the weekend. For now, from David Addison, goodbye.